Have you ever realized how some very simple plants carry an almost mysterious reputation within families? Rosemary is one of them. There are those who use it in Sunday meals, those who take it as a herbal tea after meals, and there are even those who say it helps to clear the mind, improve circulation, and give more energy to the body. But there is an important question that very few people ask. Can anyone drink rosemary tea without any concern? And that is precisely where a detail that deserves a lot of attention lies, because rosemary tea really contains substances studied by science for their possible antioxidant, digestive, and stimulating effects. Antioxidants are substances that help protect cells against the wear and tear of time, as if they were reducing a kind of internal rust in the body. Only what is most curious, many people only discover it after the body starts sending small signals. Sometimes a palpitation appears. Sometimes a strange sensation of warmth in the chest arises. In other cases, the person notices more restless sleep, slight dizziness, or discomfort in the stomach. And since tea is natural, almost no one imagines it could be related to these signals. Today, I will show you the incredible benefits of the ROMARIN, how to prepare it the right way, and which people should be more cautious before making this tea a daily habit. And stay with me until the end, because one of the most common mistakes occurs precisely among people over 55 who mix medicinal tea with medications without any guidance. Before continuing, I would like to ask you something very simple. This content is prepared with a lot of care, based on real research and reliable sources, specifically to explain health in a clear human way and without miraculous promises. So if this makes sense to you, please give me a like, subscribe to the channel, and let me know here in the comments if you have ever drunk rosemary tea. I really enjoy reading the comments and learning about each of your experiences. Now pay attention to this. Rosemary is an aromatic plant used for many years, both in cooking and in herbal medicine. Herbal medicine is the use of medicinal plants to support health. In rosemary leaves, there are natural compounds that researchers have studied, such as rosmarinic acid, carnosol, and carnosic acid. These names may sound complicated, but just think of them as substances from the plant that spark scientific interest for their possible effects on the brain, on the circulation, and on the protection of cells. However, there is an important difference that almost no one explains. Many studies use concentrated extracts or essential oil of rosemary, and not exactly the ordinary tea that one prepares at home. The extract is a more concentrated version of the plant, and the essential oil is even stronger and should not be ingested without professional guidance. The tea is lighter, but should still be used in moderation. So let's move on to the 7 most well-known benefits of rosemary tea, always keeping in mind that it can function as a support within a healthy life and not as a substitute for medical treatment. The first benefit is that it helps with digestion. This may be the most traditional use of rosemary. Many people feel that bloated sensation in their stomach after a heavier meal. The meal was large. There was frying, meat, dessert, soda, and then comes inflammation, gas, and that feeling that food is stuck in the stomach. In those moments, some people say they feel better after drinking a cup of rosemary tea. This happens because rosemary is described in herbal medicine documents as a digestive and carminative. Carminative is a word used for substances that help reduce gas. Rosemary can also stimulate the production of bile, which is a liquid produced by the liver to help digest fats. It's as if the body receives a little boost to better handle heavy meals. But here, an important precaution comes into play. People who suffer from severe gastritis, intense reflux, or stomach irritation may not feel well with this tea, especially when it is prepared too strong. That's why it is always ideal to observe your own body's reaction. Second, benefit. A feeling of enthusiasm and a light energy throughout the day. Rosemary is popularly known as a stimulating and gentle plant. Some people say they feel more awake after having it, especially in the morning or early afternoon. It's not an exaggerated energy like that of a strong coffee or an energizing drink. Rather, it's a feeling of clarity and enthusiasm for the simple tasks of the day. Researchers are studying rosemary for its possible effects on circulation and brain activity. Circulation is the path that blood takes inside the body while transporting oxygen and nutrients. When circulation works well, the body tends to respond better. However, this benefit requires attention. In some more sensitive individuals, especially those who already suffer from hypertension or palpitations, tea can cause discomfort. Palpitations are when the heart seems to beat in an accelerated manner, stronger or out of the normal rhythm. That is why those who are already taking medication for blood pressure or for the heart should discuss it with their doctor before consuming it frequently. The third benefit is a possible antioxidant action and protection of the cells. As the years go by, the body undergoes natural wear and tear. Cells age, organs work more slowly, and inflammatory processes can appear more easily. Inflammation is like an internal irritation of the body, a reaction that can occur in several parts of the body. Rosemary contains antioxidant substances that are studied precisely because they help combat some of this cellular wear and tear. Some studies investigate these compounds in relation to aging, memory, and even metabolism. Metabolism is the set of processes that the body uses to transforming food into energy. But here, I must be very responsible with you. Rosemary tea does not cure serious illnesses. It does not miraculously cleanse the body and does not replace a healthy diet, physical activity, or follow-up with your doctor. It can be a light support within a set of healthy habits, and there is a huge difference between support and primary treatment. The fourth benefit, it can contribute to the feeling of concentration and mental well-being. There is a very ancient use of rosemary related to memory and mental clarity. Some research observes the compounds of rosemary in studies concerning attention, mood, and cognitive function. Cognitive function is the ability to think, remember, pay attention, and reason. Some people say they feel their mind more awake after having this tea. Others report a feeling of calm and relaxation during this moment of pause in the day. It also relates to the very ritual of tea. Sitting down, breathing, holding a warm cup, and slowing down a bit can bring a sense of comfort for emotions. But it is very important to understand one thing. Rosemary tea does not treat Alzheimer's disease. It does not cure memory loss, and it does not replace a medical evaluation when significant forgetfulness, mental confusion, or behavioral changes occur. When memory starts to interfere with routine, it is right to seek professional help. And now, we will continue with the other benefits of rosemary tea, with the correct way to prepare it, and with the groups of people who need to take many precautions before drinking this tea frequently. Fifth benefit, it can help with the feeling of more active circulation. This is a point that attracts a lot of attention from researchers. Rosemary is traditionally described as a plant that can stimulate blood circulation. Blood circulation is the pathway that blood takes in transporting oxygen and nutrients throughout the body, including the hands, feet, brain, and muscles. Some people report feeling less tired after incorporating this tea into their routine, especially on colder days or during times of greater discouragement. In experimental studies, researchers have observed that compounds in rosemary may act on mechanisms related to blood vessels and blood pressure. However, there is a very important detail here. Depending on the person, the effect may be different. In some situations, rosemary may slightly raise blood pressure. In others, studies have observed a reduction in certain blood pressure values in very specific contexts. This shows how complex the human body is and how the same plant can act differently depending on the organism, the dose, and the medications that the person uses. That is why those who suffer from hypertension, hypotension, arrhythmia, or who take heart medications should not turn this tea into a treatment on their own. Arrhythmia is when the heart beats out of the normal rhythm, giving a sensation of racing, missing beats, or irregular pounding. And any alteration related to the heart deserves attention. The sixth benefit, Rosemary tea can serve as a relaxation ritual for emotions. Many people only think of the plant's compound and forget that the very moment of the herbal tea also influences well-being. Imagine a quieter afternoon after tidying up the house, taking a bath, and sitting for a few minutes away from the rush. The simple act of slowing down, breathing, and drinking something warm can already bring a feeling of rest. Some studies investigate the possible effects of rosemary on mood and anxiety. Anxiety is when the mind seems to stay accelerated, filled with worry as if something bad is about to happen. Some people feel a tightness in the chest, restlessness, or difficulty relaxing. Rosemary contains compounds studied for their possible effects on the nervous system. But this does not mean that this tea replaces psychological treatment, psychiatric treatment, or prescribed medications. It may only be a light support within a healthy routine. And here comes a curious detail. While some people feel relaxed, others report just the opposite when they drink this tea close to bedtime. As it has a mild stimulating effect, some more sensitive individuals may have trouble falling asleep. That is why it is generally recommended to take it in the morning or afternoon. The seventh benefit is a possible antioxidant aid related to healthy aging. As age advances, the body suffers more from what is called oxidative stress. This complicated name fundamentally means an internal wear caused by an excess of free radicals. Free radicals are unstable molecules that can damage cells over time. The antioxidant compounds present in rosemary are studied precisely because they help combat part of this process. Some researchers are studying the role of these substances in age-related diseases, memory, metabolism, and inflammation. But here, there is a very important line between serious information and misleading promises. Rosemary tea does not prevent aging. It does not rejuvenate organs, nor does it function as a remedy for diseases. Degenerative. Degenerative is a word used for diseases that gradually worsen over time. What science suggests so far is that rosemary may offer interesting compounds as part of a balanced diet and healthy habits. And this is completely different from selling the idea of a miracle, the correct preparation of tea. Now, I would like to talk about a very important point, the correct preparation of tea, because many people end up making mistakes precisely at this stage. Rosemary tea should normally be prepared by infusion. Infusion is when hot water comes into contact with the plant without letting it boil with it for a long time. It works like this. First, we heat the water until it is close to boiling. When the first small bubbles start to appear, we can turn off the heat. After that, we put the rosemary in the hot water, cover the container, and wait between 5 and 10 minutes. Covering is important because rosemary contains volatile compounds. Volatile compounds are substances that easily evaporate with water vapor. If you leave the pot uncovered for too long, some of these compounds may be lost. In herbal medicine and nutrition documents, a common amount used in home preparation is generally a small teaspoon of dried leaves for a cup of water or a small fresh sprig of about 200 milliliters. The problem is that many people exceed the measure thinking that a stronger tea means a better effect. And that's where the discomforts begin. In excess, tea can irritate the stomach, cause nausea, palpitations, discomfort, and even worsen problems in sensitive individuals, especially in the elderly who are already taking several medications each day. Another important detail is the timing. As rosemary can have a mild stimulating effect, some people prefer to take it between morning and mid-afternoon. Those who suffer from insomnia should avoid drinking it in the evening. People need to exercise caution. Now, pay close attention to the following point because it is often overlooked within families. There are groups of people who need to take a lot of precautions before regularly drinking rosemary tea. Pregnant women should avoid medicinal use without professional guidance. Some sources describe high doses of rosemary as a possible stimulant of menstrual flow. Menstrual flow is the bleeding during menstruation. That is why during pregnancy, the safest option is to avoid frequent consumption of concentrated tea. Women who are breastfeeding should also exercise caution, as there are still no reliable studies on the continuous use at higher doses. People who suffer from epilepsy or have a history of seizures should speak with a neurologist before taking it regularly. A seizure occurs when there is an intense electrical disturbance in the brain that can cause a loss of consciousness and involuntary movements of the body. Essential oil of rosemary, in particular, is described in toxicology documents as something that at high doses can provoke seizures. Those with kidney or liver diseases also deserve attention. The liver functions as a sort of laboratory for the body by helping to process substances, and the kidneys act as filters by eliminating waste through urine. In individuals who already have diseases in these organs, excess medicinal tea may not be well tolerated. Furthermore, those who use anticoagulant medications, anti-aggregants, remedies for hypertension, or multiple medications at the same time. People should talk to a doctor or a pharmacist before drinking this tea every day. And the problem is that many people believe that tea does not interfere at all. Only plants also have active compounds, and depending on the combination, interactions can occur. But calm down, I must tell you something very important. Any different reaction after drinking rosemary tea does not necessarily mean a serious problem. Sometimes the person has slept poorly, has drunk little water during the day, has mixed coffee with other stimulants, or already had irregular blood pressure. The human body is full of multiple factors at the same time. However, there is one detail that deserves attention. When certain signals appear just after frequently drinking this tea, the ideal is to stop, observe, and seek professional guidance. One of these signals is palpitations. Palpitations are that sensation of a racing, strong heart, or strange, inside the chest. Some people describe it as if the heart skips or beats too fast. This can happen especially in those who already have a sensitivity to stimulants, an unbalanced tension, or arrhythmia. Another important signal is dizziness, or a feeling of weakness. Sometimes, the person gets up from their chair and feels that their vision is darkening, that their body is weak, a sensation of imbalance. This can have several causes, of course: hypotension, dehydration, a change in blood sugar levels, or the effect of medications. But if this started after frequently consuming it, it deserves to be observed. There are also people who notice stomach irritation, burning, nausea, or discomfort in the belly. Rosemary contains compounds that can irritate the digestive system in certain situations, especially when the tea is prepared too strong or consumed in excess. And there is a point that many elderly people unknowingly ignore. Sometimes the person starts drinking several herbal teas at the same time. One herbal tea for circulation, one herbal tea for sleeping, one herbal tea for digestion, one herbal tea for tension. However, the body does not perceive this as something light and harmless. The body has to process all of this. Imagine a small kitchen that receives too many pots at the same time. At some point, space becomes limited, confusion sets in, and something may stop functioning properly. With the body, it's the same. The liver and kidneys have to manage all these substances. That's why the safest option is to avoid excesses. Rosemary tea can be part of the routine for some healthy adults, but it should not become an exaggerated and continuous consumption without guidance. A supplement, not a miracle solution. Now, pay attention to this because it may be one of the most important orientations of this entire video. Rosemary tea works best when considered as a supplement and not as a magic solution. Many people go online looking for a plant that would solve everything. An herbal tea that would improve memory, attention, circulation, anxiety, pain, and fatigue all at once. But health doesn't work that way. The human body is much more complex. Good health usually depends on several things combined: a balanced diet, adequate sleep, water, movement, emotional control, regular checkups, and medical support make a much bigger difference in the long term than any herbal tea alone. This doesn't mean that medicinal plants have no value. They do. In fact, rosemary contains compounds that science has actually studied. But one thing is to recognize possible benefits and is something completely different to turn this tea into a miraculous promise. And here is important information for those over 55 years old. As age advances, the body changes. The liver may function more slowly. The kidneys may also filter substances with more difficulty. Additionally, many people start using more medications throughout life. This increases the risk of interaction. Drug interaction is when one substance interferes with the action of another inside the body. In some cases, the effect may become stronger, in others weaker, and sometimes unexpected symptoms appear. That is why those who take remedies for blood pressure, circulation, diabetes, heart, coagulation, or sleep should talk to a doctor or pharmacist before drinking medicinal tea every day. And I know that many people do not like to hear this because there's a very strong culture within families that consists of treating everything with homemade herbal teas. Many recipes are passed down from generation to generation. Some help, while others require caution. The important thing is to unite the wisdom of the past with responsibility. 3 golden rules. Now, I would like to leave you with 3 golden rules for you to keep in mind. The first rule is simple. Do not turn tea into a substitute for medical treatment. Tea can be a light support, but it should not replace prescribed medications, nor should it lead the person to abandon consultations and examinations. The second rule is to observe your own body. Every organism reacts in its own way. There are those who feel well, and there are those who feel discomfort. The body generally warns when something is not working well. The third rule is to avoid excesses. Stronger does not mean better. A larger quantity does not mean a greater benefit. In many cases, excess is precisely what increases the risk of irritation, palpitations, and discomfort. Another important point is to remember that rosemary used as a condiment in cooking is generally safer for most people than frequent medicinal use in the form of concentrated herbal tea. Using small amounts in food is one thing. Taking large doses every day is another. There's also rosemary essential oil that many people buy online without any guidance. Essential oil is extremely concentrated and should not be ingested on your own initiative. This requires a lot of caution. To summarize in a simple and honest way, rosemary tea can offer interesting benefits for digestion, for the feeling of vitality, for circulation, and for intake. Antioxidant when used with balance by healthy adults, but it also requires caution in people with chronic illnesses, those who take multiple medications, those with heart problems, neurological diseases, kidney or liver impairments, as well as pregnant women and more sensitive individuals. If you have made it this far, I would like to thank you for your presence. Also take the opportunity to subscribe to the channel because every week I bring you well-researched content with great care to help people better understand their own bodies. And let me know in the comments from which city you are watching me. Do you usually drink medicinal tea at home? What tea is part of your routine? I love reading your stories. So don't leave without giving a like and sharing this video with someone in the family. Sometimes simple information arrives before the problem, and that can make a big difference. Paying attention to the signals of the body is a way to take care of oneself. Many people suffer because they delay realizing that the body has already been sending silent warnings for a long time. So share this content with someone who needs to hear this today. And if at any point you have doubts, remember that talking with your doctor or your pharmacist will always be the safest decision for you and for those you love.